They say they want to hit it wrong. Little bit of moving coach. If they make it wrong with God. See me, they like, ooh, keep on shopping. I'm on my way up. They say they want to hit it wrong. I'm on my way. Coming up on the bus. They see me, they like, keep on shopping. Nobody stop me. These niggas garbage. So watch your mouth, boy. Coming all black, slithering house, coming out, boy. I'm off that hip like a cowboy. I'm a king, you should bow, boy. Shorty like that, baby. Nothing I can handle. 144 with a foot going around, boy. Niggas do you dirty like a stick in a fat door. Smile pay the quarter like a bum with a fat toe. I'ma leave like him. Won't keep on stopping at this bitch. All the hand got the juice, got the bitch with the soul. It ain't rap, it's a soul. Can't take some bitch unless you with the call. They say they wanna hit it raw. These niggas claiming that they boss. These niggas better move and coach. If they make the wrong move, I feel how a veteran be. You better than me. I'm Reggie at the edge of the key. It's all money, no funny thing. You settle and see. You locked up, fucked up, and it's back to the streets. It's one west. You can check the residency. I reside with focus down on the soles of their feet. Cause it's good before designer. Ain't no coward in me. Cause I'm cold as a bitch's shoulder. You ain't calling them weak. Get them cooking on his feet. Can I get well done? Got the killers rolling with me. And they all rare, rare. Feeling like a legend in this shit, little nigga, I'm past veteran. Never feel a third, little nigga, I'm past second. Guns, I gotta have them all like ass catcher. Shotty break the nigga. Stepping, kill you with kindness cause I'm dead. 5'7", put you 6 feet, not talking height. That judge giving out 5, what you doing like? These hands are root GPS, a mean right. That's mean right, we build different, you know the vibes. And we saved it all finished, we know the rhyme. I keep a 144 because I know it's God. Know it's dark, you know I'm with animals when we flow and ride. Forget. Yeah, they said they must smoke it, so we matching them. Everything righteous, so you know when we get back at them, you get hit up with a K, but no acronym. They say they want to hit it wrong. These niggas claiming that they boss. These niggas better move and coach. If they make the wrong move, see me, they like, ooh, keep on shopping. I'm on my way up and they ain't gon' stop me. They say they want to hit it wrong.
Right. What's that first? Driving? Shalom, Israel. We are in New York under commanding Gen.YAHANNA. Card, out of the Trinidad camp. Right? Town. Right? This is where we get into our history, our culture, our language. we know as the Hebrew or the ancient Hebrew, right? And this belongs to the so-called blacks, so-called Hispanics, so-called Native Indian. That is the tongue that we spoke in the Hebrew, right? In the biblical times, straight up even up to now, right? We can see the influence of the Lashawan Qadash throughout the entire planet in all different languages, customs, and everything else, right? So today, as it says here, parts of the body, we're going to continue from the last session where we were before in relation to parts of the body, right? So there were a lot of areas that we had to cover still, right? So we will get those areas done, and then from there we just jump back down to some basics, right? Which would be in dealing with prepositions and using different aspects of the Hebrew language. So once more, you can go up to all these social media handles, right, which is Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and so on, and get into the I.S.U.P.K, get into the classes, get to understand who we are. You understand? Understand who you are. Because all most of us know is that we just black. Or we are slave. Or we ain't sure what we is. We ain't sure who we are. So when you come into the I.S.U.P.K under command of GEN.YAHANNA, you'll get to learn your history, your culture, your heritage, and get to know who you are as a person, to know what tribe you come from, to know what people you belong to. Because blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians have that mindset of they don't know who they belong to, because we were not taught who we belong to and who we are as a people. All we know, we were slaves, brought in ships, and we were whipped, beaten, raped, murdered, and that was the end of it. And then we take or put on the oppressor's culture, language, and history, which is not our own. And the more we try to fit in with our oppressors, is the more we stand out and the more that they hate us for trying to be like them, right? Because they understand that we are a separate people. But we are so destroyed. We are trying our hardest best to impress and to be like our oppressor. And that is what is our downfall as a people. So coming to the I.S.U.P.K and the commanding GEN.YAHANNA, talk to the priests and prophets of the Lord, and you get to understand who you are as a person. So now we're getting back into parts of the body, right? So from the last class, there were some areas we had to dive back into. So what I will do, I'll just create a table that we have. I will just showing the Hebrew, right? So we have the English, and then we have the translation. And then we have the Hebrew itself. So as we did last week, when we were discussing parts of the body, we were talking about the physical aspects and attributes of the human body in the ancient Hebrew, from the head, talking about eyes, ears, nose, mouth, etc. And those are the common aspects or common things of the body. This is where you can teach your children, teach them, how to speak their language and to identify part of their body, and you will be able to identify parts of the body in the ancient Hebrew. And these are things that we should not take for slight, because this is our culture, this is our history. So piggybacking off where we were last week, right? There were different aspects where we head in, right? So I think we stopped at, I think, at the chest, right? Or we could just continue from right. So when we start at, so we just continue, just to add a little, it was last week. So we have the chest, we have the arms, Right, then we have what? The hand. Right, so we'll start there. So the Hebrew word for chest is arawan. I hope you're able to see it properly on the YouTube and on Facebook. One as the ancient Hebrew. So R1 is the chest. We have Zara Y. Right, Zara Y, which is arm. And we have Yad, which is hand. Yad. So these are three significant areas, again, of the human body. We're talking about the chest, which is the broad area across between shoulder to shoulder, front area here, chest or breast area, right? That is where, you know, your arm muscles or your chest muscles are, right? Some people call it, there's another scientific word for it, can't remember offhand, but we have chest, right, which is R1, which is chest. And then we have arm, which is Zara Y. Now, arm is also synonymous to strength, right? So we have the arm in relation to how a person would be using the arm, which is the entire aspect, right? Which, right, your palm of your hand, you have the elbow, etc., etc. But the arm incorporates the entire part of it, right? From your shoulder, come right down. So you have the whole arm, and then you have what? Your hand. Your hand now is the lower portion, right? Which would include the fingers, etc. So arm is Zara Y, and hand is Yad. So right hand, somebody say your is your right hand man, right? Right hand would be synonymous as well to a position of power. Your stronger arm is your right hand. Usually be a stronger arm. For most people, there are some persons who are left-handed. So because of that, they will have more power in the left hand, or you do more stuff in the left hand. But being on the right, being right-handed, you know, it shows that significance of power. So like about the shot. If you get a scripture where you talk about Christ sitting on your right hand of the Most High. So like about the shot, this is I can pull it up real quick. Right, so guys, is right. So there are a lot of scriptures talking about being on the hand. We have this is Matthew 5 and 20, right, which talking about, you know, being offended. Matthew 5 and 30.
The book of Matthew, chapter 5 and verse 20. If thy right eye offend thee, pluck it out, and cast it from thee, for it is profitable for members should perish, and not that be cast into hell.
Right, and this aspect is talking about in using that as a metaphor in dealing with issues or persons. Right, so your right hand would usually be your power hand, the hand that you say your stuff with. So if this hand is causing some issue, it's better to what? Cut it off, right? So that the rest of your body would not be destroyed. That is on one aspect. We also have Matthew 25, right? And Matthew 25 to 33.
The book of Matthew, chapter 25, and verse 33. And he shall set the sheep on the right hand.
He shall set. Right, so all these are using metaphors to be talking about the nation of Israel. Right? Go ahead.
But the goats on the left.
Continue.
Verse 34. Then shall the king say unto them on the Come ye, blessed of my father.
Blessed of
my father.
Right, so only blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians are blessed by the Most High. Continue.
Inherit the kingdom prepared for you, foundation of the world.
From when?
From the foundation of the world.
And that was done from the beginning. This is not talking about, this is talking about the instruction, or I should say the promises that was made to Abraham, right? Our forefathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. You understand? And it goes right back, even right back up to Adam, because we were supposed to have what? Dominion. You understand? Over the entire planet. But we all know what happened to Adam. Then we got that ability to make that change. We had Noah. Noah had 3 sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. We come from the lineage of Shem. And the Most High chose us to be that what? That chosen people. You can read over that scripture again, Baba Kusha?
Book of Matthew, chapter 25, and verse 33. And he shall set the sheep on the right hand.
Right.
But the goats on the left. Verse 34. Then the king say unto them on the right hand.
On the right hand. Right? So this right hand is where the persons who are going to be what? Blessed. These persons are not. So continue, Baba Kusha.
Come ye, blessed of my father.
Right.
Inherit the kingdom prepared for you from the foundation of the world.
From the foundation of the world. So from the beginning, that was always yours. Continue.
Verse 35. For I was an hungered, and he gave me meat.
Right. So he was hungry, and he gave him meat. Continue.
I was thirsty, and he gave me drink. I was a stranger, and ye took me in. Verse 36. Naked, and you clothed me. I was sick, and ye visited me. I was in prison, and ye came unto me. Verse 37. Then shall the righteous answer him, saying, Lord, when saw we thee and hungered, and fed thee, was thirsty, and gave thee drink?
Right. And this really going deep into, you know, the aspect of brotherhood. You understand? For blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians. This is what we do in I.S.U.P.K under commanding Gen.YAHANNA. We breed brotherhood, where we take care of our own. Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians. Continue.
Or thirsty, and gave thee drink. Verse 38. When saw we thee a stranger, and took thee in? Or naked, and clothed thee?
Skip to verse 40.
Verse 39. Skip to verse 40.
Yeah, verse 40. It was on 38, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, jump to verse 40.
The book of Matthew, chapter 25, and verse 40. And the king shall answer and say unto them, Verily I say unto you, inasmuch as ye have done it unto one of these least of my brethren, ye have done it unto me.
Done unto who?
Ye have done it unto me.
You understand? Say done. Once you do it to the brethren, which is your brothers, blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians, you understand? You have done it unto who? Unto Christ. You understand? Because that is our brother. He is our brother. You understand? And this is where the I.S.U.P.K and the Commanding General Yahanna, this is what we strive for blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians to what? Come together. You understand? To what? Feed each other. Take us out of the prison. Teach us the right way to be. Because at the end of the day, blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians have nobody else but each other. The Syrians, the Chinese, the East Indians, the Africans, our the so-called white man, none of them are our brothers in the aspect of treating us the way we are supposed to be treated. Because we are what? We are the chosen seed. You understand? Deuteronomy 7:6. Not because, you know, we have a particular lineage. You understand? Or some people would say, okay, Esau is their brother, which is true, because biblically we have Esau and Jacob. But they didn't have what? The inheritance. And they, in terms of showing us who they are, they would fight against us. And that is not brotherly in the whole scheme of things. You understand? So the only persons we have is blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians to take care of each other. And that is done here in the I.S.U.P.K under Commanding General Yahanna. Let's continue the scripture one more time. Yeah.
The book of Matthew, chapter 25, and verse 40. And the king shall answer and say unto them, Verily I say unto you, inasmuch as ye have done it unto one of these of the least of these my brethren,
that's right,
ye have done it unto me.
Verse 41.
Verse 41. Then shall he say also unto them on the left hand.
Right. So this is what will happen to the persons on the right hand, and here's what will happen to the persons on the left hand. Continue.
Depart from me, ye cursed.
Depart what?
Depart from me, ye cursed.
So we got to understand now why those who are on the left hand side are cursed. Continue.
Ye cursed into everlasting fire.
Everlasting what?
Fire. Prepared for the devil and his angels.
Prepared for who?
The devil and his angels.
And we know the devil and his angels is not some man with who in red, with horns and a pitchfork in hand and a fork tail and grizzly teeth. The kind of fairy tale thing that you put on the television and on social media and whatever else. The devil talking about what? Our oppressor and his angels. The angels is what? The other nations who follow this oppressor. Talking about white supremacy. So all those who want to follow, you understand, and not treat blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians the way they're supposed to be treated, guess what? You're going in hell. You understand? And hell is not no place burning with fire. Hell is what? Right here. And you will get that justice when our King Yahweh returns. Because all these other nations will go into slavery. Continue.
Verse 42. For I was an hungered, and he gave me no meat. I was thirsty, and he gave me no drink. Verse 43. I was a stranger, and he took me nothing.
Right.
Naked, and he clothed me not. Sick, and in prison, and he visited me not. Verse 44. Then shall they also answer him, saying, Lord, when saw we thee an hungered, or athirst, or a stranger, or naked, or sick, or in prison, and did not minister unto thee?
Right, and this is the same thing happening even now. So you have your Christian pastors blinging Gucci, Prada, you name it. The church filled with people. But the widow who's suffering and her rent to pay, nothing for she. The brother who going into prison, he's rotting in prison. They ain't even bother to send what is called a commissary when they're sending stuff for them in prison. Like a care package. You understand? They ain't want to send toilet paper and toothpaste for the brothers in prison, much less pay a lawyer fee. And some of these brothers in prison for what? Real simple stuff. Marijuana, or some child maintenance. You understand? We ain't talking about us who commit serious crime. And these men suffering, and these men paid tithes for years, sending their wife to church for years, taking all this ridiculous torture that the pastor putting in their wife head. And now, after they use their wives, molest and have sex with their wives, when these brothers end up in a jam, they can't even help them. So they were sick, they didn't help them. Don't even talk about sickness. When you're sick and you're going to ask the church for help, well, you know, sorry, brother, we didn't see your name on the tithe sheet. And all this kind of folly. They can raise funds to buy a jet for the pastor, but they cannot raise funds for your child to get surgery. And that's a hypocrisy that will be revealed in the end times. Right? And that's really the last verse in the chapter, Babukasha.
Verse 46. And these shall go away into everlasting punishment.
Into what?
Everlasting punishment.
So there's something reserved for persons like that. Right? So blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians, we had to cut we can't straight. You understand? Because don't feel that punishment ain't gonna come against those who have treated the Lord's children. You understand? In that kind of manner. Continue, Babu Kisha.
Confound but the righteous into life eternal.
But the who?
But the righteous into life eternal.
But the righteous into life eternal. So this is what we're doing here in for blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians in the I.S.U.P.K under commanding General Yahanna. Right? So I give you a bit of go into some more words. Right? Just to get the understanding, and the more we go through it, and the more we remember it, the better it will stick in our heads. Right, so the next word we have here is belly. As you know, your belly is the stomach area, right? The lower where your intestines are, or your abdomen. That's another word for it. So the Hebrew word for belly is batan. Right, it's batan, which is belly. Right, it's batan. Right, that's the belly or stomach area. Then we have what? Thigh. Thigh is an area of the upper leg. Right, so the word for thigh in Hebrew is yarak. Right, yarak. Right, so your thigh just from your waist area, right, to go down to your knee. Right, so that's your thigh. So that's a solid muscle mass, right, which powers your leg, right, will give you all your power to run and to jump, right. That's probably one of the larger muscles on your body, right. That whole thigh area. Right, it's yarak in the ancient Hebrew. On the other aspect, or I should say behind, an area we call what? The buttocks, or butt. And the Hebrew word for that is shathar. Shathar. Right, so shathar is the Hebrew word for buttock. Again, the buttocks is your rump, Some people call it what, the gluteus maximus. I think that's the scientific term for it. Again, that is the big, or you call it your posterior. There are a lot of words, and you know, Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians, when it comes to slang, right? We deal with it in many different ways. As we know, that greater aspect of the buttock area, right, is one of the attributes of women, especially Israelite women. We are well known, right? The rump, you understand? The backside, we just call it, right? So in our culture, we use a lot of slang. Always some of the favorite slangs we just use in those areas, but there's a lot of things that we could go into, but that area is something that is, well established in the Black, Hispanic, and Native Indian community, especially, right? So we have the word belly, which is batan. We have the word thigh, which is yarak, and we have the buttock, which is shata. Right, so we're gonna jump in some more and get into this area here. So again, these words are very common words you could use, teach your children, and you yourself will be able to get to understand, how to speak our language. So dropping on to the lower areas, we have just the buttocks, then we have, right? So our legs is the vital part. Let me put it on that marker more easier to see. So we have legs. Right, leg. You can move. You have leg, foot. You have toe. We have heel. Right, so all these areas is the comprising of the leg and all the attachments, you understand, of the leg area. So the Hebrew word for leg is shawak. Shawak. Right, shawak, which is the leg, which comes from your waist, from your thigh, go right down to your toes. Right, that is your leg, and all the other areas attached to it. So we have shawak, which is leg. Other Hebrew word for foot is what? Ragal. Right, ragal. Right, ragal, which is foot. Then we have toe, which is bahan. Bahan, which is toe. And then we have heel, which is I-Q-U-A. Right, I-Q-U-A. Right, these areas here, there's another famous scripture that we're talking about, right? And that's in Genesis. We talk about the serpent and what will happen between the serpent and the woman. Right? But because starting as in Genesis 2, her feet will, his head will bruise her heel. And that was after the fruit is seen in the Garden of Eden. I think it's Genesis 3, but for sure. Right, it's start from verse 14.
The book of Genesis 14. And the Lord God, because thou hast done this.
Because
thou hast done this.
So as we know, this serpent is not talking about a literal serpent, it's a metaphor. Right?
Because thou hast done this, thou art cursed above.
Thou art what?
Cursed above all cattle.
So your Christian pastor will tell you this is a snake. Right? And where they get that from? Again, they get that from the oppressor. Right? So they take this literal. But this snake is a metaphor for what? A man. Right? And this was talking about, you know, how this individual influenced Eve to what? To go outside. Continue.
Thou art cursed above all cattle.
Thou art cursed above all cattle. And the cattle he's talking about was about beasts of the field. Because the serpent was the tile beast of the field. He was the most crafty out of all of them. So the other beasts were crafty as well, which means the other nations were crafty. The Chinese are crafty, the Africans are crafty, the East Indians. They try all the tricks and ploys against the nation of Israel. But our so-called oppressor, he is the most subtle, the most crafty. Continue.
And above upon thy belly shall thou go.
Upon what?
Upon thy belly shall thou go.
Right, so we know this talk state. Right, it's talking about there will be low. You understand? Continue.
And thus the days of thy life.
And what?
Thus shalt thou eat all the days of thy life.
Right, so they will be in what? A low estate. In all the underhandedness they would come with. And eventually they will be what? In a low estate, because at one point in time they were what? The so-called Renaissance era and all. There is when they started to emerge. You understand? Really get back traction. And before that they were what? They call them what? A troglodyte. You understand? Continue.
And I will put enmity between thee and
you put what?
Enmity between thee and the woman.
Right, so the enmity talking about the enmity between the Most High's chosen and this other beast, which is what? The other nations, but most subtle beast, which is a serpent, which is our so-called oppressor. Continue.
Between thy seed and her seed.
Right, and thy seed and her seed talking about the offspring, the children, the generations that are produced off as this subtle man. Children of the Most High will always have enmity between each other. Between blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians and the other nations. We saw the same thing up in the beginning from Abraham time with Esau and Jacob between them. Continue.
It shall bruise thy head.
It shall what?
Bruise thy head.
Right, so it will bruise what? The head is synonymous with that structure of power. You understand? Continue.
And thou shalt bruise thy heel.
And thou shalt what?
Bruise thy heel.
Right, so the heel of us will be what? Bruised. You know, your heel, you use your heel to walk, to march. And when that is hurting, you cannot walk properly, you cannot operate properly. Right? Where the heel and the foot and all these areas used as what? Metaphors to help describe a prophecy that is to come. Continue, or that was it? All right, to water. So we're going to move on to the other some more parts. So we have the leg, the foot. Again, subscribe to all our social media pages, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, as well as all these other social media handles, as well as TikTok, Clubhouse as well. So jump on all these social media platforms and get all the information that you need. So we have healed, then we go into some parts right now. Right, so we have the heart, we have the kidney, we have the caul, right? And the one from before, when I was putting this was again with the aspects of the leg, which was the knee. Right? So I'll put in that part as well. So the Hebrew word for heart is lab. Lab. Right? Forget the connectors. Right? This would help distinguish and change the meaning of the word with those connectors. So we have lab, which is heart. We have kidney, which in the Hebrew is kalaya. Right? It's kalaya. Right? Kalaya, which is kidney. And then we'll go through all those different parts. We call, which is Yatharaf. Yatharaf, call, which is the call. And then we have the knee, which is Barak. Right, so let's double check this here. So we have the heart. Now, a lot of people don't understand again, in the scriptures, body parts are always used as metaphors and to explain and to express. So we would say, I should say in time right now, right? The heart, we know the heart is a muscle that pumps blood, right? That is a known scientific fact. Your heart is a muscle on the left side of your chest that pumps blood throughout your entire body. You have your left ventricle and your right ventricle, right? It pumps blood out and takes back the blood back in. Oxygenated blood goes through your bloodstreams, come through the other side, come up your veins, back up to the heart. Blood is being sent to all the major organs, to your head, your lungs, your kidneys, everything else. Right. So we have the physical part, which is the actual physical heart. And also, the heart, the word heart is also used as a metaphor to also mean the mind. So we know the importance of the heart. Now, when you say I love you with all my heart, a lot of people will understand is not your actual physical heart, but is what your mind. So that is something that we have to get understand when we read the scriptures. So there's a scripture we talk about, especially in the commandments, right? When you say love the Lord with what? All your heart, all your mind, and all your soul, right? It really rehashing itself. Your mind is really a heart, or your heart is really a mind. So in this aspect, when you look at it, for those who understand, your heart, when it's being referred to, once you understand the context, it will be speaking about either the actual heart or it will be speaking about your mind. Right? So love the Lord with all your heart. You're not talking about your physical heart, but you're talking about your mind. Right? And we go through all different aspects of expressing this word heart as a mental aspect, a mental capacity. So you see a nice young lady down the street, you say, girl, I love you with all my heart. You understand? Because what you're trying to court this woman. But it's not the actual physical hand, but you love you with all your mind. Right? So that is the word heart, which is lab. Labba, or so I should say lab, which is the Hebrew word for heart. Then we have kidney. Right? The kidney, right, is what we use, or it's the filtering system of your body. Your kidney is used to filter your fluid or your blood system. So your kidneys are a very important organ in your body. If your kidney fails, your blood will get toxic and you will die eventually, right? All your other different parts of your organs will start to shut down, and then eventually, that's it. You understand? So your kidney is vital, very, very, very vital. So you have to know how to take care of your body so that your kidneys will be properly taken care of, right? Because your kidney will control what goes into your bladder, and then you eliminate the rest out of your body. So your kidney is that filtering system that you need to get these things or these impurities out of your bloodstream, right? So that's a kidney. And the Hebrew word for kidney is kaliyah. Kaliyah, right? Kaliyah is the Hebrew word for kidney, right? And after kidney, we have the word cord. Now, a lot of persons don't know, don't understand what is the cord. Now, the cord, the scientific description is the cord is a membrane that is over the liver area of your chest, right? That is a thin membrane that covers your etc. and your lungs. So that piece of membrane is called the cord. So what I'll do, but for the and it has been mentioned numerous times in the scriptures, especially when it comes to the sacrifices. Right? So the call, right? So it says here, right, the call right, so you see the call is it refers to the breast area, right? With this area inside your chest, right? Is a membrane or some covering of the heart meant to protect. So there's always a thin membrane over those vital organs, just separating your direct flesh or your chest cavity area and the actual organ, right? So people who clean chicken or clean goat and sheep and stuff, when it just before you take out the internal organs, you would see this thin membrane meshing over these areas, right? So that is a core, right? So when you read scripture and you see the especially in Leviticus, where they do the sacrifice for the animal, they will say remove the cord, remove the liver, remove those things and what burn it or throw it out at the camp. Right? So this is the call that they're talking about. So we get a better idea, picture of what it is. Right? And we're going to other aspects. We'll just pull up in the blue, the letter Bible. And we'll get to understand all these different aspects. Right? Right, so the knee. The knee, or your knee, your body as well. It's what makes us walk. You have your knee, right? You heel, but your knee is what gives your leg or creates that major separation to help you run, right? To walk, etc. So we have Isaiah. Because I can pull up Isaiah 45. And we start from verse 22.
20.
Yeah, start from verse 22. The Bible show.
The book of Isaiah, chapter 45 and verse 22. Look unto me.
Look unto whom?
Look unto me.
Go ahead.
And be ye saved.
And be ye who?
And be ye saved.
Right, it's talking about to the nation of Israel, where we turn away from the Most High. You understand? And we continue to do that through all the scriptures, especially the Old Testament. And even now, every time the Most High bring us back, you understand, into a point of righteousness here, we go back and whoring into all these other gods. Continue.
All the ends of the earth.
Say it again.
All the ends of the earth.
Go ahead.
For I am God.
For who?
For I am God.
So he establishing who he is. Continue.
And there is none else. Verse 23. I have sworn by myself.
You have what?
Sworn by myself.
Go ahead.
The word is gone out of my mouth in righteousness.
Right.
And shall not return.
And shall what?
And shall not return.
Go ahead.
That unto every knee shall bow.
Every what?
That unto me, every knee shall bow.
Right. So every knee shall bow. So this is Isaiah giving this prophecy about the Most High and letting them know that the power that the Most High has, every single knee shall bow, including us. You understand? There's no power greater than him. And every knee shall bow, which it really, bringing it home of that aspect of being submissive. You understand? When somebody is on their knees, they're in a what? Submissive position. You understand? So if there's any fight, or usually a great example is if the police stop you understand, and you're going to be arrested, what does the most times police tell you? They tell you what? Get down on your knees. Put your hands behind your back. Being on your knees or putting a man on his knees is a very humbling or submissive position. You understand? So This is something that we have to understand when these parts of the body is being used, is understand what it's synonymous with. You understand? So every knee shall bow. So every power or everybody who is up, standing up, has to what? Go low. Continue. Mm-hmm. That is if you're from verse 23. Start over verse 23. 45 and 23. Yes, start over from 23. Top.
Verse 23.
Mm-hmm.
I have sworn by myself.
Mm-hmm.
The word is going out of my mouth in righteousness.
Right, so the word gone out of his mouth in what? Righteousness. So it has nothing evil with what he's saying here right now. Go ahead.
And shall not return. That thou unto me, that unto me every knee shall bow.
So what he just said is going to happen. It's not going to return without accomplishing what it's going to do. Continue.
Every tongue shall swear.
Every tongue shall what?
Swear.
Continue.
Verse 24. Surely shall one say, in the Lord have I righteousness and strength. Even to him shall men come.
Right.
And all that are incensed against him shall be ashamed.
Right.
Verse 25. In the Lord shall all the seed of Israel be justified and shall glory.
I say that one more time.
Verse 25. In all the Lord.
In all the who?
Salakia. In the Lord.
Right.
Shall all the seed of Israel.
Shall what?
Shall all the seed of Israel be justified.
Be justified.
And shall glory.
And shall glory. So this is another good precept and another good cut for those who saying, you know, it's everybody else. This token is saying all the seed of Israel be justified. This is not talking about the African, the Chinese, or anybody else. This is saying all the seed, you understand, shall be justified. Right? And Babu Shah, I just pull up this one last word. They find what being justified means. And then we understand the scripture in its entirety. Right, so justified. What does it mean to be justified? Slovakia, see. Right, so to be justified means having done for or marked by a good or legitimate reason, right? Or two, declared or made righteous in the sight of God, which is the second one, right? See, the nation of Israel is declared or made righteous in the sight of the Most High, not the other nations. We talk about all the seed of Israel, right? So this talking about, you know, blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians, not everybody else. This only dealing with one nation of people. So all you thinking that everybody in the world can be saved. If everybody in the world could be saved, then according to Christian doctrine, who win in hell? You know, what sense that make? You're saving everybody, so what are hell for? So that's just utter confusion. But when you understand, they come into the school, they come into the I.S.U.P.K and the commanding GEN.YAHANNA, blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians, you'll get to understand that this world was built for you. This planet was designed for you to rule over. Don't let drugs and sex and homosexuality and lesbianism and these things rule you. Do not let the white man rule you, the Chinese, the East Indians. Don't let a leaf, a weed tree rule you. You understand? Don't let a coca leaf rule you. Don't let grape juice rule you. We are the ones. Don't let pork, crab, shrimp, and lobster rule you. We are the ones who are supposed to be running the planet. So come into the I.S.U.P.K under commanding General Yahanna, go on all our social media pages, and let us get right in the nation of Israel. We see the times are drawing close. We see the prophecies being portrayed right in our face. Look at the world today. Even more, look at the amount of floods and a lot of natural disasters all through the planet Earth on every major continent. Those countries are being flooded out in mass. Hundreds and thousands of lives are being lost. These are what the plagues that the Most High is talking about. So one side is fire, one side is floods, the next side is plagues, next side is mice and locusts and every other disease. Don't talk about pestilence, don't talk about corona, monkeypox, and all these other things that come in against the planet. And they come behind the planet, coming to these nations because of what they have done to blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians. Again, so subscribe to our class, all our social media pages and handles, right? And let's go through these topics here one more time. The Hebrew word for heart is lab. The Hebrew word for kidney is kaliyah. The Hebrew word for call is yatharath. Yatharath, right? And the Hebrew word for knee is barak. So again, subscribe to all our pages. Go on to isupk.com. Look at the Trinidad page. Weekdays, right? On Sundays, we have our camp leader, Officer Lashawan, right? He's the leader of the Trinidad camp, Officer 5000, Officer Lashawan. He does the scripture breakdown on Sunday, even from 6 p.m. So like you know, on 6 p.m. Right? That is on Sundays. On Mondays at 6 p.m. Right? We have the history class with Officer. Also on Mondays at 6 p.m. or at least 5:30, our camp leader, Officer Lashawan, and Officer Tazawa, right? They are Aisha Wells program 9, right, where we discuss any and all topics, Spanish and Native Indians. You get the breakdowns on the scripture. Tune into 91.9 FM in Trinidad with Aisha Wells program. You will see our camp leader, Officer Lashawan, and Officer Tazawa breaking down the scriptures. If you have any other questions. On Tuesdays, we have the that is on Tuesdays. On Wednesdays, we have Officer Maswaya. Thursdays, we stream the live class with General Yahanna. Right, there's on Thursday scripture break service, right, done by myself as well as we cannot forget on Monday nights we have scripture breakdown with General Mahayman from headquarters, and immediately after scripture breakdown, we commanding General Yahanna with Black Watch News, right? That is the current news program for blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians. Things are happening throughout the world that affects blacks, and all these issues are being brought out, the prophecies, etc. Right? So tune into all these social media handles and pages and get locked in. Maikwa.
This is the I.S.U.P.K security announcement. We are the I.S.U.P.K 1 West, 125th Street, Harlem, New York, under commanding General Yahanna. New rules for brothers and sisters. When a new brother or a sister comes into the school, they are off limits for 6 months. They are to be saluted only. They are here to share themselves of the world. After 6 months, if a brother or a sister has an interest in a particular person, he or she must get permission from the head to speak to a brother or a sister. There's another 6 months in which the brother or sister will court each other. After the 6-month period, the brother or sister will get permission from the head to marry. Tithes, which is the commandment. You can find this in Numbers chapter 18 and verse 21 and Malachi chapter 3 verses 8 to 10. Means tenth in the Hebrew and it's pronounced Ma'ishra. 10% of of any increase the Lord gives you. He gives to the treasury department or teacher. Priest fund, free will offering for priests, not mandatory, whatsoever amount you would like to give. Upcoming holy convocation. The upcoming holy convocation is the memorial blowing of the trumpets, which is the first day of the 7th month on the Hebrew calendar, which is Monday, the 6th September, 2021. You can find this in Leviticus chapter 23, verses 24 to 25. Remind Archeum and Atwakium to check on social media such as ISUPK.com, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and so on for I.S.U.P.K events and materials. If a brother wants to be a trooper in the school, then he is to start wearing all black, which include black boots, like shirt, like pants, like headbands or scarf. And with that, we say Imadium. We're going to turn and face the east and begin with the Lord's Prayer in the Hebrew.
We go to the Lord's Prayer.
Come on. Abanawa, Shabbat Shemayim, Qadash, Hayah, Shamka, Yahawah, Malapaka, Taba'a, Ratazaka, Hayah, Aisha, Baratiza, Kawa, Hayah, Bashumayim, the Tandanawa, Lakam, Kal, Yawam, Basalakno, Kawawatno, Gasalatno, Kawawatino, Mala'a, Tabeyanao, Banasayawan, Abal, Awashayna, Mayan, Rai, Kaya, Laka, Amalakwa, Waha'ala, Watapara, Iwalamio, Aman.
We just say here now in English, our Father, which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name, Yahweh. Thy kingdom come, will be done, in earth, as it is in heaven. Give us this day, our daily bread, and forgive us our debts, as we forgive our debtors, and lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory, forever. So be it.
Sir, man of Israel, let's give the teacher a one courtesy salute. Amadim Shabbat. Amadim, Barak, Yahweh Bashami wa Shabakata.
Yahweh Bashami Shabakata.
Yadimata, Sir. Let's give the sisters a one courtesy salute. Amadim Shabbat. Amadim, Barak, Yahweh Shemalatan Bashami wa Shai. Yadimata. Class dismissed.